Hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Sunday afternoon, which means it's time to talk about coping with stress. And the reason that we do that is because we are a group of people, DearMamaSal, a group of people who get together 3 times a week, and we support each other through life. And on Friday lunchtime, we talk about coping with feelings because we all have them, and it's perfectly okay to have them. And you need to be aware of them. The more aware you are of your feelings, the more authentic you become. And then on Friday evenings at 7 o'clock Pacific time, we talk about coping with life because that's what we all have to do, isn't it? And then on Sunday afternoon, our focus is really coping with stress. And I had a lot of stress on Friday, as you know, because just as I was finishing the preparation to do the Friday evening broadcast, lo and behold, my internet provider suddenly had a glitch. And what happened was I literally was only, as I was watching television, I was only hearing sort of one word in 20. And obviously that made it impossible for me to be able to do a broadcast. So I do apologize for that. These things happen. And, life goes on, right? So a number of things we're going to be talking about today, and I got a lot of little tips for you, which I thought would be exciting. But for me, the exciting part is to let you know that British Columbia has now opened up the ability to go and eat at a restaurant again. So this evening I am going out for Chinese food, which is a huge shift to be able to go back to doing that on a Sunday evening. So I'm quite excited about that, to be quite honest. A couple of things. I just wanted to make sure that we all are aware that we've got a couple of our viewers that are about to go through surgery, one out of choice in a way, and one out of necessity. For those of you who know Jeannie, she is anytime coming up now about to go in to have an operation for kidney stones at the same time as preparing to go back home after her home was destroyed in a fire. They've rebuilt it, and she's going to be going back there, at the same sort of time. So it's going to be a very stressful time for her, and we will be here to support her, that's for sure. And the other one, of course, is Jody, our admin, who is prepping to go in to have a gastric bypass surgery. And that is a huge thing because it's required that she's totally change her diet. And are you on totally liquids yet, Jody? Are you getting close to that? So just while I wait for that reply, I just wanted to let you know that we've got some great household tips today that I managed to salvage out of Friday's broadcast for you. And also for those of you who like to reuse and recycle, I've got some nice ones in there as well. And DearMamaSal is all about helping you cope. And I wonder if any of you have had any problems coping this week. And if so, feel free to discuss it. The only birthdays, actually, I don't know of any birthdays this week. If I've missed any, let me know. I do know, however, that Lionel and Jody had their wedding anniversary back on the 27th. So that's a pretty good thing. I wonder how everybody did on the decluttering. Did anybody manage to put away into the donation box 7 items this week? I am really proud that I managed to get 3 boxes filled now, and they're in the car already because my goal for tomorrow is to actually go deliver them. Hi there, Bernice. Good to see you as well. All right, so, and if any of you have tried it, it actually is amazing how gratifying it is, because I found a number of times this week, as you know, I'm also unpacking my house for the second time in a year because I also had a fire and they rebuilt part of my house. And so, but in order to have them do that, I had to have everything moved out, absolutely everything. And so I am down to probably the last 20 boxes, I would think, maybe less. And basically what I'm doing at this stage is opening up those boxes to find out what's in them. Just because there are so few boxes left that I'm sort of now making sure that I've got room to put things before I unpack the boxes, but to know exactly what's in them is important. I've made, my craft room was really stressing me out. And for those of you who don't know, the front half of my house contains my dining room, my living room, this room, which I call the fireplace room, and my kitchen. The middle section contains my laundry, the guest bathroom, and this beautiful big space that is my craft room. And then the back end is my bedroom, the bathroom, spare bedroom, and spare bathroom. So the fire happened at the back end. And what I've been struggling with is to try and get some sort of order going on in the craft room, which is the center area. And I've made some really good inroads into that this week. And it's lowered my stress level quite a bit, because as I walk through that area now, I smile, because it's now looking clean, cleaner. The desks are not clean yet, but that's the next step for this week, is to get those desks cleared. And, for those of you who don't know, my unpacking process is I will open up a box and put everything into that middle section of my house. It'll be on top of I've got my freezer there, which acts as a table, but I put everything onto the freezer and onto the desk and everything. And the reason for that is because every time I walk past, I'm inclined to pick something up and go put it away somewhere, or go, I've got to find a place to put things like this and start a new place to put things. And I find that works really well, but it also requires that I don't unpack too much at a time, because otherwise the center of my house is a chaos. But it's become a sort of staging area now where I put things to put away. And it's been working really well. I think I mentioned last week, did I talk to you last week about why Nordic walking? This is under Did You Know? And that Nordic walking uses a lot more calories than ordinary walking. Now, if you're wondering what Nordic walking is, it's when you are walking with poles. So it's sort of like skiing poles, but on ground. And these have just got a tip on them that these are for just walking on cement. Now, these poles come with different tips, some for walking in snow, some for walking in mud, some for walking in, I'm not quite sure, but the one, I'm going to have to look that up and find out, read the instructions even. That's a thought, isn't it? But anyway, I managed to get myself some Nordic poles so that I can use them for walking. And the interesting thing is I actually tried my stepping machine today. I've got a Wii, W-I-I, and I did time going up and down on the Wii board doing steps today, but with the poles. And so therefore it gave me a lot more balance, and I felt so much more comfortable. But what I noticed, without a doubt, was my body was much more upright when I was doing it. You know what I mean? I wasn't sort of slouched forward doing it like this. My body was upright, and I felt that great control. And by the way, the other thing I hadn't thought about, but really does help, having these around, really useful when I'm trying to get up off a low area. So I keep them handy now for that reason. They just, give me a bit more stability. And so they really are very cool. And I was, funny enough, Jody, I was thinking about the fact that they probably wouldn't be a bad idea for you post-op, when you start moving again. And I would really challenge you, Jody, to, as soon as you are able, obviously, to start really clocking in, even if it's privately, but the number of steps you take a day, so that we can encourage you to keep adding to that. All right, so Jody's saying some of those various tips are for trekking through snow and one is for mud. Yes, that's right. I got one for snow, one for mud, but there's one which like a rocking one, and I'm not quite sure what that one's for. Yeah, so I know you're not going to like this one, especially publicly, but you just get over it. So what I'm going to do is send you a pair, Jody, for your recovery, so that you will have them for your recovery. And oh, that's a good point. Jody's saying that funny looking one probably is for uneven terrain. Yes, very likely. Anyway, I thought I would do that so that it would help you with your, with your recovery, because I'm pretty sure you will find that it will. Now, the other thing I wanted to say, Jody, is I know this is really strange, but are they doing what I call do they do a microscopic type surgery, where they put like a 1-inch incision and or two of them and go in, or will you actually have a full incision? And there's a reason why I'm asking you that question. The reason I'm asking you that question is, I once had 17 stitches almost completely down my front. And one of the things I know, if you're going to have an abdominal surgery, one of the most difficult things is you don't realize how much you use those muscles until you've had an abdominal surgery of some sort. And I've had a couple. And it is laparoscopic. Okay, fine. I just said it that way so everybody knows what we're talking about. You're going to have 5 small incisions. Okay, that's amazing what they can do without that. So you're not going to have my problem, which is 17. However, just to let you know that you don't realize how many muscles you've got in your stomach until they go in and start playing around in there. And after that, you sure do. And so one of the things I found very helpful is, and I don't know if we can get Lionel to find some good quality rope. Actually, the best thing that I found was I used to ride in those days, and my horse's reins, the reins that you hold on to when you ride a horse, they were the best thing. I attached them to the bottom legs of my bed and then up over the bed. So when I wanted to get up, I could actually, get up using the reins. Does that make sense to you, Jody? But that is a discussion I would have with your healthcare people. It just, because of everything else that's going on for you. I know, Jody, that's why I'm sharing it with you. I've shared it with so many people who've had abdominal surgeries, and they all said to me, I would never have thought of that. And I said, I want to tell you, it saved me, especially, when I was on my own and I needed to get up to go to the washroom or something. That's the most difficult thing, is getting up from that flat area and then doing that. So anyway, just a thought. Of course, if your bed moves, have you got a bed that moves? I can't remember if you've got one of those adjustable beds or not. But have a discussion with your people to see what they recommend as well. But if you can find a secondhand pair of reins from a horse, that's not a bad idea, because they're really strong, right? They're built to hang on to a horse, so they're pretty strong. So you do have a hospital bed. Okay, so that helps you. But even so, does it takes you up to the full upright position? Yeah, because if so, that's awesome. And you may not need it, but you're going to need the poles, I think. There you go. Jody's saying it's still difficult for me to get into the upright position. That's what I found with my adjustable bed as well. It takes me up about this angle, but I still need to get to that angle to move. Yeah. So, and you know something, Jody? I'd actually get Lionel to measure the distance from the floor, up the leg, along the bed, down the other side to the floor again, and allow extra to tie big knots with it so that it can actually be on your bed, all right, permanently. And then even when the bed goes up, you then have it automatically coming, it's already there. Anyway, I hope it works for you. A couple of things from the news that I wanted to talk about before I get on to the handy tips. I was reading somewhere that the Chinese are building a dirty great dam, and it's called the Three Gorges Dam. And it's going to have a huge reservoir on it. Now listen to this. Apparently the amount of water that's going to be held in that reservoir is going to affect us all. All right? It's going to affect us all. I know this sounds difficult to believe, but the amount of water that is going to be held in that reservoir, the NASA scientists have calculated that the shift of such a mass of water will increase the length of a day by 0.06 milliseconds. It's actually going to change our world. Now, I didn't know that that was possible. Did you? So, and it's also going to make the Earth slightly less round. And it's going to be slightly flatter on top because of all of this. And so they said to note that a shift in the object's mass on the Earth relative to its axis, all right, that's the way it spins on its axis like this, it's going to change that pole position by about 2 centimeters or about 0.8 of an inch. I don't know, that's incredible to me. It will actually change its moment of inertia. Although the shifts, they said, will be too small to be measured, but they can be calculated. Well, I thought you guys would find that interesting, which is why I'm repeating it. It was just like, did you know that? Did you know that a big dam could change the whole, and be it by microseconds, but it's just like, wow, that is amazing. And it changed the shape of the world, even if it's infinitesimal. I'm watching, how many of you have been watching the possibility of a second eruption in the RDC, the Republic of the Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. I don't know if you've been watching that, but it was so funny. I'm going, hang on a second. I know that it's in Africa, but where is it in Africa? And I didn't realize that the Democratic Republic of Congo used to be called Zaire. And that's when I went, oh, that's what it is. Got it now. So that country that used to be called Zaire is now called the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And, it's amazing to think that they're about to have a second eruption there. That must be so scary. And the third thing I wanted to just touch on in terms of the news, how many of you have been seeing Canada's been in the news this week because sort of about 4 hours away from where I live here in Canada, there is a town that had a residential school for Native Indians, and they have found a mass grave there with over 200 bodies in it. Now, obviously, we're going to hear more about that, but I wondered how you all felt about residential schools. And, that's a discussion that I think is really interesting to have, because the perception is that residential schools are bad things. Now, I find that quite amusing because I went to a residential school. And I don't mind telling you, my parents paid a fortune for the right to have me go to a residential school. I was meant to go to a residential school with Princess Anne, but I refused. So, you look at it and you go, be careful you don't judge residential schools with what happened in that particular school, where they basically try to retrain, I think that's how I'd have to say it, the Native American children to not be Native American, if you know what I mean. They wanted them to become European type beings. And what they did is they took them away from their homes, and then they educated them in the British sort of style. And, I find it amazing that in my day, residential schools were actually a status symbol. You know what I mean? It's like if you had money, you sent your children away to be educated. Really interesting to me that we don't see that anymore. I don't even know if they still have them. I probably still do in Europe, but I am not aware. Oh, I suppose they do have them, but you only do that when they go to university, right? That's in the States. That's the only time that children go to residential schools. Would I be correct in that? Yeah, it was a status thing. It was, and so to me, it was interesting to read about residential schools, and I was hearing a lot of comments about how bad they were, and I'm going, oh, wait a minute. They're not all bad. Some of them were extremely good. And if you think about it, all of the royal family children all went to residential schools. You still have them in the US. Okay. And are they also a status? Thanks, Jody, for the update. Anyway, I thought I'd just talk about it a little bit because it's not something that I've heard people talk about. And I thought it's something that we might want to just keep aware of, that it's just, just because it happened in Canada, that particular school does not apply to all schools. And that's, me, I like to make sure we've got balance on things. All right, so for those of you who might not have heard it on Friday, just to let you know that Jeannie managed to get the check for her builder, for those of you who were in on that conversation. And that was a very stressful thing. And bless her heart, I am so delighted that Jeannie came to the group and discussed the problem so that we could give her some recommendations as to what to do. And she was so grateful because she said, without that discussion, she would probably not have had the check. And she is very, very happy that everything is now going ahead and she's got her builder back on board again. So that was great. I'm still trying to find out if anybody has heard of this before, because it happened to Lauren and I still haven't been able to find any feedback on this, where Lauren has a fitness tracker. And the most peculiar thing is twice her fitness tracker has shown her going into deep sleep and staying there and then waking up. And, most trackers will show you that you go into a deep sleep and then you sort of cycle up and then cycle back down again and cycle up and then you're awake. But twice we've seen this. I mean, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. But twice Lauren has gone right down, stayed down, and then woken up again. The first time I thought it was a glitch in the watch, but when she repeated it a second time, it was just like, wow, look at that. Isn't that amazing? I was wondering if any of you have noticed under Be Prepared and Not Scared, noticed any other changes at the grocery store. Yeah, I call it flatlined because, that's what it looked like to me. I'm so glad she wrote to tell me this, not that I just saw it, because if I'd just seen it, I might have think you weren't around anymore. It was just, have you contacted your watch people to find out? Because I think that would be really interesting for them as well. I am noticing, I don't know why, I am noticing I'm having the great difficulty getting Tylenol for arthritis at the moment. I wondered whether anybody else has found that it's difficult. You know, I talked to you about that I had some problem getting beef that I wanted, but, you know, I noticed for 2 weeks now I haven't been able to get Tylenol for arthritis. But that does bring me to this week's score. Jody, could you do me a favor? Could you just check how much you would pay in the States for antibacterial, I want to say Band-Aid type things, you know, using the generic name Band-Aid, but you know what I'm talking about, and about 30 of them. Could you just see what the average cost is in the States? The reason that I'm asking this is I managed to pick up, hang on a second, a box of boxes of them. In other words, this was within the box. And in fact, the total package contains 225. And that was like $14. And they're antibacterial, you know, so you don't have to put antibiotics on when you use them. Plus, they actually seal on all 4 sides. Oops, let me show you. They actually seal on all 4 sides. So $8.40 for 30. Does it give you the item cost? I mean, I can do the math. Hang on a second, let me do the math. First, my phone needs to start. The reason I'm saying this is because, again, that one of the most important things that I'm finding is do your homework. 840 divided by 30. So 28 cents each is what it is in the US. Jody, these ended up being 6 cents each. And each box contained, as I said, they're all antibacterial. But these contained little smaller ones and big ones, and some of them were white and some of them are flesh colored. I thought that was a fantastic deal and enough to last me, you know, at least the year. So no need to have an heir and a spare on this one, right? So there we go. Yeah, so 1, 2, 4, 6 boxes of them. So I'm not getting paid by anybody to do this. It just is such a good deal. I thought I would share it with the viewers. Yeah, it's only really got the 2 sizes from what I could see. You know what I mean? The sort of regular one and the one slightly smaller. So you haven't got the round one and the bigger one or whatever, but it's the 2 sizes you would most likely need. And, you know, it's useful to have a couple of that. Not all of them are clear. Some of them, a few of them are clear. So just so you know. I want to tell you that I found, yes, I did, I found. You know what I found? For those of you who don't know what this is a painting I did when I was away from my home for the 6 months. And it was the painting that I did to remind me of the very lonely time I had away from my home. And I call it Rainy Day in the City because, you know, I was I was away for a Canadian winter, which is mostly rain. And so I was so happy to find it. And it was very well wrapped up. And of course, I didn't remember it until this week. that I had wrapped it up with my canvases. If you remember that for Christmas, Benji and Judy had sent me some canvases. And what I'd done is I had sandwiched it between the canvases because the canvases are, a solid and good support for it. So I just was so delighted to see it this week. I went, oh my gosh, that is so awesome. And by the way, I am wearing this in terms of stress and release. For those of you who don't know, I did enter in to the Vancouver Marathon 5-kilometer section. The Vancouver Marathon, as with all major marathons now, have subcategories. You have the people who run the marathon, they're the really serious runners. You have the people who run a half marathon. And then you have the people who run the 8-kilometer, and then the 5 kilometers is 3.1 miles, I think. Let me talk American for a second. And then they also have what they call a family run below that. And I started back in September being aware that I was having major problems with my left hip. And my doctor had me go for an x-ray, and they confirmed that I have arthritis starting in my left hip. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm a great believer. Now that I know that, what am I going to do about it? All right. So I can either systematically get worse, or I can systematically do what I can to delay it getting worse. And what I decided to do was work on the principle, if I don't use it, I could lose it. And so I started back in September doing, trying to get in, even though I was in lockdown. I didn't use that as an excuse. I got myself a secondhand Wii, W-I-I machine, and started walking. And I did manage last week, at the beginning of last week, to not only do the 5 kilometers once, but I did it twice. And the reason I needed to do it twice was the first time I noticed that even though I did the distance, the map, the Fitbit map, didn't show the full distance that I had walked. And I knew I'd walked the full distance. Let me see if I can show you what it did. I knew I'd walked the full time and distance because I saw it on my app. But hang on a second, where are we? Exercise, there we go. But what it did was it kept telling me that the distance was only 3.08 when I knew I'd done more. So I went back the second day and did it again. And this time, when it got to the right distance and time, I took a screenshot, and then I did another 0.1 over above that and took another screenshot. So I was covered two ways. And then I spoke with Fitbit, and they told me it was a known glitch. And apparently it's interesting that it has to do with the fact that where I am, it takes a little bit of time for the GPS to actually find me. I'm in a bit of a rural area. And so it took a little bit of a time for the GPS to click in. So now I'm aware, should I ever do this again, to only start the recording, if you like, once I am sort of given my app a chance to locate me, and then start recording from there. And so it's going to be a new system that I have. And I will be doing, from now onwards, I'll be doing tests to see, have I got this worked out properly, ready for the next time I do one. And by the way, what I did say to everybody, what was amazing to me was to be able to wear the shirt, obviously, that I did finish. And for those of you who didn't see it, I also have this incredible medal. Let me take that off, that they gave me for being a finisher. And I want to tell you there was part of me that went, it was worth all of that just to get that medal. Why? I don't know. Just to get it was sort of amazing to me. So the message here, think about the stress of finding out that I had arthritis in my left hip, and that was going to hinder my life. And I might not be able to, I might need a hip operation, or I might need to, have a walking stick or whatever, all these sort of things. And then I went, no, something, if I don't use it, I will lose it for sure. And therefore, I need to do something to help myself. And I don't mind telling you, it's been a process. And the stress of getting 5 kilometers was way far more distance than I thought it was. I would have been happy with 3 kilometers. That's what I reckon I was ready for, was 3. I wasn't ready for 5. But I signed up to do it. And you know me, if I sign up to do it, I'll do everything within my power to make it possible. And so I found that the strange thing was, at the end of it, I was not feeling as happy about it as I thought I would. It was just like, oh, thank goodness that's over. And I took a week off this week from doing it. And now I'm going to start doing what I can to at least get out 3 times a week and do not 5K, but at least do a minimum of half an hour 3 times a week where I'm out with my poles and do some walking. So here we go with some tips. I saw this one and I went, I wonder whether any of my viewers have done this. I was reading somewhere that if you've bought a lot of vegetables, fruit and vegetables, and you need to sanitize them, soak them in vinegar or whatever, they said to put all the fruit and vegetables into your dishwasher, if you're lucky enough to have one, huck some vinegar into the dishwasher and put it on the rinse cycle. I thought, now that is a quick way to get it all done. And they've had a good wash. I don't know about you, but I thought that actually was quite smart. Now, I probably don't have enough fruit and vegetables to do that, but I did think it was an interesting point. So if anybody hears this on the replay and thinks that's a good idea, make sure you leave some comments below. And, it was just like, now that is smart. I wanted to give some feedback. As some of you will know that I'm doing an experiment at the moment about what happens if you keep soap in the tank of your toilet. Will it help? Will it act like that little thing that you buy that hangs over the side? Now, here's my feedback on it. Number one, you will realize that as the soap is constantly melting, if you like, the water is always going to be a little bit cloudy, and that's not a bad thing. However, what I've noticed is, I'm not getting that ring at all, which I was getting because I've got hard water. That's not coming up, and I've now got it going in both my toilets. But here's the one thing I would make sure you all remember. Do not just huck a piece of soap in there, because it'll get caught into the system, as I found out the hard way. So buy a mesh bag, or if you've got hose, pantyhose, or what do you call them, thigh highs or whatever, just tie some soap in there and then hang that in your system. Keep the knot outside and put the lid on. And it really is surprising. I actually bought some quite nicely scented soap in the hope that it would also scent the water. I'm not noticing that. I'm still working on that one. Has anybody ever made their own gift wrap? Because one of the things that they were saying, and I think this is ingenious, if you're wrapping anything, to consider, how many of you still have the newspaper? That's another question, of course. But they were saying, if one really nice way to entertain people is to actually wrap the comic section All right. So when they unwrap it, they got something to laugh at. And I thought, yeah, that's quite clever. And what I'm going to consider doing is, I've got an awful lot of wrapping paper left over. And obviously, it's scads of it. 3/4 of it I have thrown away, but I've kept some of it because I thought, it'd be really interesting to make my own wrapping paper for Christmas. With leftover paints and stuff that I've got here. And so that's what I'm going to be doing some experiments on that one. Now, this is a tip that I thought you might probably already do. What do you guys do with your fat, your cooking oil? What do you do with it? That's the comment that I have. I'm pretty sure we all know it's a really good idea not to throw it down the drain system. I'm on a septic tank system here, so it definitely is a no-no. But it's never good to put any fats down there, right? So Jody's saying we keep a coffee can for drippings. Yes, and do you reuse the dripping at all? I find there are two sorts, all right? They're what I call the useful drippings, and then the you've used the oil one time too many or whatever. The other thing I'd like to say is, do you know that you can filter your oil? All right, just take a coffee filter after if you happen to have fried something, just take a coffee filter and filter your oil, and you can reuse it a number of times. I found it's really useful if you live on your own, or just two of you. You don't need a very big container. I used to keep a leftover can, a regular can that you open, like a baked bean can or whatever, in the back of my fridge. And I would just add any bacon fat to that. Because, as we know, bacon fat, great taste. And when you're making roast potatoes, to roll your roast potatoes in bacon fat just gives them such a great flavor. So I thought about that, and that was a good idea. But they were saying a really useful thing is to keep it in one of those Tetra packs. Either your milk carton, or maybe you bought a smaller whipping cream carton that maybe was only half size. But I thought that's a really good idea, and they said that way you can throw it away in the carton when you actually are ready to get rid of it, and it doesn't take up a lot of space in your fridge in the meantime. I thought that was quite clever. Yeah, I thought so. That's why I'm bringing it to you. Now, have any of you tried to make your own deodorant? Again, I would ask, do you use gel deodorant or solid or whatever? And I like gel deodorant. I always have. And I thought, it can't be that difficult, really. So what I thought I might do, if you guys are interested, is I might actually do an experiment on Friday to show you how I mixed it up together. And you really don't need very much to create deodorant, quite honestly. And I've been using my own homemade gel for, well, I would say about 2 weeks now. And what surprises me? It's worked. All right, so think about that. Jody's saying that she uses a climate-friendly spray. I would think that would be pretty easy to do a homemade version of that. So Jody, why don't you have a little look this week to see what it would take to make the spray version, and I will get ready with the gel version. And then between it, we will have a number of options for people. I certainly would like a spray version. That would be nice as well. So I'd be interested in that. Yeah. I've got a feeling it'll be the same ingredients, quite honestly. Just probably it won't have the gel that I have has coconut butter in it. And that would be what makes it more solid. So I would probably imagine it doesn't have that in it if you do the spray version. Have any of you ever gone shopping and you got to do the shopping and found out that you have left your grocery bags in the car? I mentioned this, I might have mentioned it before, but this is a trick I found out a long time ago, and it works so well. You know, I'm literally sitting there with a complete cart full of stuff, and I'm going, my bags are in the car. I don't know why. I remember to get them to the car, but I forget to take them out of the car and to the grocery. What I do is I don't buy bags. I just have them put everything through the till and put everything in the cart, take the cart down to the car, and then put the groceries into the bags, and then, put the cart away. Sometimes I've actually done it where I forgot the bags at home. And, I'm saying this because we're going to be out more now, and I literally took everything down to my car and just loaded up my back area of my car. And then when I got home, went and got the bags and then brought everything in. And it was just like, that works. And, what I also found is if you can, get bigger bags rather than obviously we don't want to be using the plastic bags too much, but if you get slightly bigger bags, it just takes half the work, quite honestly. Now, another thing that came up for me this week, I was, things fascinate me. I think you know that. And here I was, and I was going, why do melamine sponges work? Have any of you ever asked yourself that question? I think you have Mr. Clean, Magic Eraser type things, but you can buy the generic version that's not Mr. Clean. And I thought, I know they work, but why? Why do they work? I found out they work, as Beth suggested, they do work incredibly well with ceramic pans, which is a new learning experience for me. But a couple of things I wanted to mention to you. Your average magic eraser is about this big. When you've finished using the top section of it, cut it off and still use it. Just cut off that bit that's pretty well used. I find that little bit is really useful for cleaning up around the stove and stuff, and it still has a lot of use in it, even though it looks grungy. It still has a lot of use, all right? And what I find is rather than use the whole sponge, I use smaller bits, and I get much better use, and it's a much better bang for your buck, if I can put it that way. So here I found some uses for it that you might not know. Did you know that they are really good for cleaning the product? If you've got if you've ever had that stress of your curling iron or whatever, and it ends up with leftover hairspray on it, you know what I'm saying? The product buildup that gets on your curling iron. Magic Eraser will take that right off, no problem. And the reason is, let me see if I can find where I kept that note. Is how they're made. We know that they're an off thing of the petroleum industry, but basically what they are is very sort of like a very fine sawdust and sandpaper foam is the best way I can describe it. So it's not just that it's a foam, it's got very small crystals in it that make it like very, very, very fine sandpaper, which is why they work. Did you know that? So not only will they take the crud off your styling utensils for your hair, They also, you know, if you've ever put down a can of hairspray or something, and then suddenly it's left a rust stain on your counter, it'll take that off immediately. Probably some of you know that they're really good for cleaning inside a microwave or your oven. But have you used it inside your fridge? You know, it's just like, think another step. Like, what else do you need that needs to get cleaned that has sticky residue? And if yours is like mine, in the fridge. And by the way, one way that I found to stop that sticky residue in my fridge, especially in the doors of my fridge, is just to put a piece of paper towel down before I put everything on there. It's much easier to replace the paper towel than it is to scrub away in the fridge door. So here we go. This is what they said. The truth is, magic erasers are just tiny rectangular pieces of melamine foam with a cleaning agent inside. A melamine sponge is more dense than your average cleaning sponge, and it has tiny pores that make a light abrasive, not unlike that of an extra fine sheet of sandpaper. So isn't that interesting? There's a technical reason why they work. Now, we were discussing a couple of weeks ago that if you buy your oranges in a bag to hang on to that bag, the reason is if you finished with it, you can use it to scrub vegetables. But one of the things that recommended is to tie a knot in it and throw it in with your wash, and it will collect a lot of the, it'll stop stuff pilling on your sweaters and things when we get back into sweater weather. So what I'm going to do is I actually bought a bag of oranges this week so that I can do an experiment and let you know how it goes. And I'm going to start putting it in with my wash, and I will show you what it collects. But I think that is a really great way to reuse something. And I wonder if any of you have got any fun ways that you use it. Now, another idea is to actually put your soap inside it. I personally don't think that the orange will look good in my spa bathroom, but my spa shower. But, you know, it's like, yeah, I can imagine. For those of you who are campers, great way to have it when you're camping, because you can then hang that up in a tree if you want to. If you're RVers or campers, to have the soap in an orange bag, because not only can you use it and it will, defoliate you, but then you can just hook it onto something because of the mesh. So really good idea for that, I would think. So let me know if you come up with any fun ideas of that I haven't thought about. Jody's saying, I've heard about wrapping soap in mesh. I just haven't done it yet. Yeah. Yeah, Jody's saying they also put liners now in their fridge things. The other thing I found, and this is just, it depends where you live. If any of you find that you have a problem with condensation in your window tracks and it's inclined to go moldy over the winter, I would imagine, Jody, you might have a problem with that where you live. I know that even where I live, that, depending on how well the house is built, it can cause quite a bit of condensation that doesn't evaporate. And I came up with something years ago that works so well that I thought, I wonder why I never thought of it before. And what I do is when it's coming up to November time, the coldest part of the winter, I will then take some paper towels and just concertina fold them, just fold them, and then stick them in the window runner. All right. And what you do is they are absolutely fine. When they start to look a bit not so nice, you just pull them out and huck them. No scrubbing of the window track. All right, Jody's saying that tip about lining the window sills was absolutely genius. You've obviously tried it then? So you actually had one window that not only did it leak onto the track, all the time, but it also went onto my windowsill. And I just, in the winter, just put paper towels down on the windowsill, and it worked. So and I would love to hear from you where you have found things like this that have worked for you, so that I can pass them on for other people. Jody's saying, I love practical household hacks, time savers, and environmentally friendly. Yeah, so let's think about that, Jody. If you were going to do that was more environmentally friendly, maybe, it's a great second use for paper towels. As you know, I use paper towels, and as soon as I've used them, I put them in a jam jar or a mason jar full of soapy water, and they sit there all day. At the end of the day, I rinse them up, put them flat on my stove overnight, and they're dry in the morning, so I can use them. But, that would be a really good use for secondhand paper towels. And I'm amazed how much I use my second use paper towels. Now, here's something else I thought of this week, because, my mind thinks like this. You remember I got that really good quality and extra strong Mexican coffee, and it is actually now, they actually made them in these pods that are sort of like 75% biodegradable. And so what I'm doing is I'm cutting all but the little bit that isn't biodegradable off now, and putting the little bit of plastic that there is into the plastic recycling, but the rest of it I'm putting into my compost. So, but here's something else that I thought. For those people who have got coffee machines with pods, have you thought about reusing the pod? And the reason I say that is I realize that sort of sometimes in the afternoon, I still feel like another cup of coffee, but I know I probably shouldn't because it's so strong, and, it'll keep me up. And I'm up late at night anyway, so what do I care? But I thought, what I'm going to do? I'm going to start keeping my pods and using them a second time for in the afternoon. Or let's say I want to make a frozen frappe type coffee drink, right? And you reuse a pod that you've already used, because you don't need the coffee to be as strong, right? Because it's mostly milk and foam and all the rest of it. And I thought, that's a nice way to get an extra bang from that pod without sort of feeling that, I'm wasting another pod. No, you're not. You don't need to. And the same way, if you use tea bags, most tea bags have got enough tea in them to make a second cup. I actually keep my herb teas, I keep in a jam jar on my windowsill that gets the most sun. And I make my sort of herb teas, using the sun I throw in a piece of orange and a licorice tea, and I go, and a sprig of mint, and I go for it. And by the time I want it, I've got my money's worth out of that as well. So again, let me know if you've got any interesting ones that, maybe I've missed. I still have not found my mother's pearls or my the beautiful silver and turquoise jewelry I was given for my 50th. I am having a meeting with the insurance people this week, not to accuse anybody of having stolen them, because I don't think they did. I think what possibly happened was that they were in that area that took the most heat, and also in that area that took the most, things ended up all over the floor, and they basically came in and shoveled a lot of stuff out, I think. And so they weren't in the same place as the rest of my jewelry. And that makes me think they might have ended up getting thrown away. And so what I'm waiting to find out is the process that they have on their end. In other words, was all jewelry photographed before they cleaned it? And if so, they would have photographs of it or not. If they don't have photographs of it, it means that it ended up being lost. Now, you understand, for some people, that is devastating. That was my mother's set of pearls, and they were good ones. But it is what it is. They're gone. All right? And I still haven't totally finished unpacking, but I'm pretty sure they're gone. And I'm pretty certain that the silver and turquoise jewelry is gone as well. And I wanted to talk a little bit about how do what do you need to do if that happens to you? All right. I was asked by some people that are helping to organize my sister's virtual 80th birthday party, to let them have any pictures of her that I might have. And you can probably imagine I had to write to them and say I had a fire. And I have not found many of my pictures, nor have I found my memory box yet. I'm still not finished unpacking. And so, it was just like, I realized I might have a picture of her somewhere, but I'll be lucky if I do, and that was sad, but, it is what it is. So, and does that, it is what it is. Getting upset is not going to give me those pictures back. Getting upset is not going to give me the pearls back. Oh, I could buy another set of pearls, but will I? No. It's like, it had sentimental value. But, that's all that it was, sentimental value. And it's not going to change my life not having it. And I think about how much stress people put themselves under because they've lost something like that. And I want you to think about that and go, I can see them all the time, right? In my mind, I see those pearls all the time. I'm not even sure if I've got a picture of me wearing the turquoise and silver stuff that I could prove it. I have people who gave it to me that would definitely confirm that they gave it to me. But it's like, it's not about that. I can't replace it. Yeah, Jody's saying concentrate on the gratitude of having had them for the time that you did, not the loss. Yeah, exactly. You don't have any of your family pictures from growing up. Right, Jody, you don't either, right? I have very few. So, and I have lost the rest, and that's what fires do. And I'm sure that Jeannie has the same problem. You imagine, Jeannie lost everything, not just pictures or jewelry. She lost everything. And that's really called downsizing with a vengeance, right? So we can do it. It's a state of mind. We can either make it heaven or hell. Right. Lauren's saying reusable pods for the coffee. I have reusable pods that I use as well. I've used them for years, Lauren, and I really recommend them. But I actually bought, I saw this Mexican coffee that was already in pods, and I just wanted that coffee, and that's why I ended up with coffee that wasn't. And by the way, as you probably know, everybody, I learned some years ago, it's okay to buy the cheaper coffee when it's on sale and add good coffee to it, about 2 lots of the cheap coffee and 1 lot of the expensive coffee. It will change the way you drink coffee It tastes just as good. And then if you have people who, now that we can have people over again pretty soon, you can just serve the really good coffee, but for everyday use, it works really well. Jody's saying, I've started to journal my memories from family gatherings as a way of recalling those events. In time, I can look back and relive the fun. Yes, what a lovely, good to do for your soul as well. That's a great stress reliever. I would think, Jody, that how long do they reckon that recovery will be once you've had that operation? I know you keep telling me, but you'll probably have to keep on telling me. Jody tried the coffee trick and she's saying absolutely. She said, tastes absolutely identical to using the premium coffee alone. Yep. I don't know what made me do it one day, Jody, but you know me, I thought I'll try that experiment, see what it tastes like. And I went, yeah, it tastes fine. And I've been doing it ever since. And that allows me, whenever I see really good coffee on sale, Starbucks is inclined to put their stuff on sale quite regularly. But I also bought another one this week that went on sale that was a very high-end brand. And I went, okay, I'll take a packet of that and add it to my, options here. So I was looking. All right, so Jody's just giving me the update here. It's going to take about a month of recovery because of her other health issues. It takes 3 months for the new stomach to be fully healed. All right, so you've got to be really careful about what you eat for about 3 months. And I would think that by the time that 3 months is over, you will have got into the habit of not eating real food, right? I mean, they say it takes 21 days to change a habit, but you're already used to not having as much food, right? You're down to half a cup for breakfast and, a cup for dinner. So, you're already down to very small meals. I keep remembering that, Jody, when I make my meals now. And what I've started to do is to actually bring out a smaller plate. Instead of having my normal dinner plate, I've started using a side plate. Hi, Jeannie. Good to see you. All right, you'll have to strain soups. They need to be very thin. Yes. And so get rid of all the fiber, extra fiber. What about things like orange juice? The same thing? No, none of the fiber? And Jody, from what you've been telling us, I've realized now that I can actually create my morning smoothies, with adding just a little bit of protein powder and a little bit of vegetable powder I put into my smoothies now with half a banana. And so I'm beginning to do the same thing. My relationship with breakfast has changed, All right. And Jody's saying that her relationship food has completely changed. I look at it as purely fuel. I'm getting rid of the emotional attachment. All right. And as I wondered, Jody's saying juice has too much sugar. But yes, it would need to be strained for the first month. So Jeannie's saying that breakfast is her favorite meal. Yeah, but it's about what you have for breakfast. That it can. I find now, ever since we did that little experiment with oat milk. Remember when we did that experiment one day? I now save a lot of money because I was buying almond milk because I found, hang on a second, the oat milk is really good. And so now what I'm doing is for my morning smoothie, I'm adding oats and then pulverizing them, and then creating that within my my morning smoothie. what I call my breakfast smoothie. The other thing I found was, you remember when we did the experiment with the Dole Whip thing? I found that since we have done that experiment, I have changed a lot of my desserts into frozen desserts now. So what I do is I just, now just buy frozen fruit and blend it with some frozen bananas, and that's awesome. Cream of wheat is much softer. All right, so Jody's saying, I thought it was interesting that cream of wheat is allowed, but not oatmeal. All right, Jeannie's saying cream of wheat is much softer. Isn't cream of wheat just strained oatmeal? No, wheat. Huh. All right, then we got to know what cream of wheat is. It's strained what? I would have thought... I would think cream of wheat would be really good to add in a smoothie, quite honestly. I'm going to have a look at that. But Jody, I would ask them whether you are allowed to have oat milk. In other words, whether you can, blend it together and then strain it and just have the milk. Just for a change. They're probably not used to people that are prepared to do that much. I wanted to repeat something that I saw this week because I think it's important for us all. And it was written by Jeremy Kent, and he said, Germany Kent, and he or she said, how to win in life. Work hard. How many of you know that I worked hard to prepare myself to try and do the 5K? And Jody is working hard to be able to go through the operation she's going. Jeannie is working hard to try and cope with not only an upcoming operation, but also, redoing her house. And the next thing it says is, number 2 is complain less. When you get rid of your excuses, it's amazing how much more time you have. I found this morning that my brain was saying, you need to do some steps with your Wii machine. Steps. Now, not, I was going to go outside, but I didn't have enough time to do that. So I thought, but I do have enough time to do the steps with my stepper. And I found that the old excuses were coming up, and I went, you used to be able to overcome these, so why don't you just overcome them? And I said, that's it, I'm doing it. And I ended up doing half an hour of different things. And I went, wow, that goes to show when I get rid of the excuses, I have time to do the things I didn't think I had time for. So you look at it and go, this is possible, right? If you want to win in life, work hard, complain less, listen more. All right? Listen more. What if I haven't listened to all that you guys have taught me over the years? All right? There are a lot of things that I wouldn't be doing in my life right now if I hadn't listened to you guys. So thank you. Try, learn, and grow. I believe that the one thing that keeps me excited in life is that I love experiments. All right? I love learning new things. I love trying to find out, does this work? And I know that 9 times out of 10, I could probably research it and find out that it does. But I like trying it for myself. There's that part of me that I think would have been a very interesting inventor. You know what I mean? I've got that sort of mind that goes, I wonder if you did that, whether it would work. And then I cannot tell you how many times I said, no, that doesn't. But I wonder if I did this, whether it would. All right. So I love to learn. I really do. And then, hi, Nell, good to see you. And then it says, don't let people tell you it can't be done. Right. That's another thing if you want to succeed in life. I was amazed. That so few people over 70 took part in the 5-kilometer race. I'm just looking at today's results. Just hold on a second. Let me get them up again. Looking at today's results of the marathon, a lot more people have finished now. So at the moment, I am sitting, hang on one second. Oh. Right, I'm sorry, I just had to redo something here so I can see what number I am. I'm sitting 379th out of 388 runners in the 5K. But what I found absolutely fascinating, and I did not expect that, is that, let me just do it by age. There were only 4 people, one more has come in, only 4 people over the age of 70 that did the race. And one of the guys was the one guy was 77, and he did it in half my time. Less than half my time. Well, aren't you the clever person? So, but interesting that made me think maybe I had done a better thing than I thought. You know what I mean? It's just like, I expected a lot of people to run 5K over 70. And so there's part of me that goes, I feel a lot better about what I did if only 4 did it. And that is of Canadians. I didn't look at the international runners. But, you know, it was just like, okay, that's good. Oh, hi, Nell, and goodbye, Nell. Thank you for popping in, and feel free anytime. Yeah, and Judy's saying maybe the 77-year-old was a runner to begin with. You know, it's, yeah, obviously that was you don't walk that time, you run that time. So I'm going, well, isn't that wonderful? Yes. And Jody's saying, I wonder if there's an intimidation factor. You mean about doing the 5K? For smart people, I would say yes. I imagine if I had been intimidated, I wouldn't have gone through all that stress. But I also wouldn't have the shirt. And so, you know, really, when you think about it, Jody, I'm thinking about what you're about to achieve. I'm thinking about what Jeannie's about to achieve. And I think of, you know, what Lauren has achieved and what she's going to achieve now, going to study psychology in uni. You know, you look at it and go, if we don't put ourselves up to these challenges, then we don't know that we can do them. And Jeannie, you didn't intend to you know, redo your whole home. So I think, you know, it's just like sometimes life just makes us do more than we want to. Jody's saying, skip it all together. Yeah, I want to tell you, there was a moment there, Jody, and I think you know that. There was a moment where I thought, you know something? I've done this much. It's enough. You know, you know, there was about 2 weeks before I did it. I thought, you know something? My body is sore. I'm pushing myself too much. I don't think I am ready for 5K. I remember going through that phase. when I was only able to walk for about 3/4 of an hour and I was nowhere near the distance. What is going to be interesting for me now is to see how much different it is walking with poles. And that's, I want to see, does my speed increase walking with poles because I am more stable? You know, that I'm not sort of aware of favoring the one side or whatever. And there was time, I don't mind telling you, there was time within even the last 10 days where my body was so sore that I thought, you know, I'm never going to do this. And then I had to say, well, look, even if you don't do it, you know, you've done the work. Nobody can deny that you've done the work because, you know, everybody's been there along the way with you. But it was amazing that just in that last week, I went, you know, you're not going to be able to look yourself in the mirror if you don't give it your best shot. And then when it didn't record the time properly, yeah, I'm going, oh my gosh. And now I've got to do it again. I literally looked up and said to the big being up there, I know you got a sense of humor, but really, you knew my integrity would not let me do this without being able to prove it. You knew that. Now I've got to do it again. Jeannie, I'm delighted to hear that your builder has finished tiling the shower. As I think I said to you on Friday, I know that when my shower went back in was one of the moments that I sort of started to exhale. It started to come together when that was done. I was almost home. And by the way, I am busy putting Post-it notes all around my house ready for the tour with the Renault boss. You know, it's the little things that amuse me. And I'm going to do the same thing, Jeannie, be firm, fair, and friendly. And I'm going to say to them, you know, is there a technical reason why they left a 1/2-inch space between my vanity and the wall? Is it because they wanted to see all my earrings drop down there, you know, and my makeup brushes and stuff? You know, was that sort of some cruel joke that they have? You know, just like, seriously? How can they do that? How can you leave a 1/2 inch? Well, actually, it probably is little under 1/2 inch, but it's nearly a 1/2 inch gap between the vanity and the wall. Just big enough for things to fall through, but small enough that if they fell through, you can't get them out again. You know, it's like, that takes talent. Why did they, you know, put the skirting board, you know, the baseboard around everything except one section of my bathroom? You know, it's like, you know, is there a technical reason for this that I don't know? You know, I've got so many of these questions. Like, why did they never give me the proper lights for my bathroom? You know, either of my bathrooms. I've just got a bulb sticking out in. I'm putting my makeup on with a, you know, just a bulb. Yeah, I'm just gonna, and I'm not gonna get upset about it. I'm gonna open up the freezer and say, "Stick your nose in there. Can you still smell the dead body?" You know, and was there a reason why they did 2 coats of paint in the front end of the house and apparently only 1 in the back end of the house? Was there a reason for that? Was there a reason why I have got sticky stuff over the top of my brand new freezer and a footprint? Somebody used my freezer to do the ceiling, or, yeah, laziness, yeah. And, you know, it's these little things, you know, so there are lots of things. Why did they give me new light switches, you know, the rocker ones, the rocker light switches at the front end of the house and not the back? Weird. Oh yeah, the reason there's a footprint, Jody, is they put that sticky spray stuff in before they do the ceiling. They have the sticky spray stuff, and I've got a sticky spray footprint on my freezer, my new freezer. And I never did get the money to refill my freezer, so I want to have that discussion as well. Going, is it hidden in there? Did you hide it in there that I missed it? Because I'm busy trying to restock my freezer, and it's expensive now. Well, I don't expect it to be perfect, Jeannie, and I'm certain that you will find this, a few gremlins along your way as well. I've got one section of my floor that when I walk on it, it squeaks now, and it never did before. I don't think anything's going to get done about it, but I'd like to know what causes that. How come it didn't squeak before and it does now? Does it mean that water got there and this lowered slightly and now it's not as level as it was? Or was the under stuff that they put down not thick enough? Did they not check that it was level? That's what I want to know. What causes that? I know they're not going to rip up the whole floor and redo it for a squeak. But, it's like I have a lot of questions. And I'm going to do everything in my power to keep my sense of humor. And just go, if the house looks a bit strange because of all the sticky notes sitting everywhere, just these colored bits of paper, it's because they're all things I want to discuss with you and find out, what's going on. And, really sad. Some of it was really sad that they just never bothered to prep a wall. They did in the front end of the house, of course, but from the middle onwards, they did not prep a wall. They just put a coat of paint on it. And as far as I can see, just one coat, not two. And this after it all went through a fire, and they stripped the wallpaper off. More reason, as far as I'm concerned. And they only stripped some of the wallpaper off, not all of it. And then they didn't, from what I can see, they didn't put a base coat on before they did that. Well, Jody's saying the way you keep your sense of humor is an example for all of us. I find that, keeping that be firm, fair, and friendly, works much better for me. Where I go, guys, I know I don't know a lot about Renos, but I have a feeling this might not be up to your standard, But if there is a technical reason why there is that hole, how do I get my earrings that have already, how do I get my makeup brushes out of there? Did you think about that? Or you don't think about it at the time. And I nearly, Jeannie, that bathroom vanity you got, I nearly picked the one that you have. And I picked another one because I was worried about having blue. And guess what? It isn't nearly as nice as the one you picked. And I wish now that I'd picked the blue one. All right, so Jeannie's saying sense of humor. We went to dinner and every place had a long wait, an hour or more. We finally went to our favorite Chinese place and had no wait. Food was delicious and plentiful. What's that got to do with humor? I'm missing something there. Yeah, that's where I'm going right now. They've opened up. So I've got to go. Otherwise, I will be late for dinner. Jody's saying it's better for your health, less stress, and you deal with finding solutions for these issues. Yeah, I wish you could see my dishwasher. If I pull the racks out of my dishwasher falls forward. And boy, that's good for your heart rate. Really gets your heart rate going. So, what happened was when they pulled it out, they flattened something. When they put it back in, they didn't then re-secure it into the area. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get them to just pull out the things and put things in there and let it drop on them and see what they do. And go, now imagine you're 73 trying to cope with it. Yeah, so good for you, Jeannie. Keep going until you Don't worry about the long lines. If you don't want to stand in line, then the great thing is find another restaurant. Well done. I love the fact that you did that. So, hugs to you all. I hope you got some tips that will be useful to you. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, remember to look after one another, but most of all, keep your sense of humor. Life is stressful. And just understand that we all just need to keep taking one more step at a time. And if you're really lucky, eventually your painting turns up. Can you believe that it's taken me 2 months to find it? And it's just like now the problem I've got is where I got to put it, because I think it's going to go up there. All right, everybody, big hugs, and I'll see you Friday. Thank you, and bye-bye for now.